Well, good afternoon and welcome to Expressive Photography. First of all, let me wish you all a very happy new year and welcome to 2021. We're out here very close to our home in the west of Scotland, and what I want to do today is talk to you about expressive photography, what our plans are for the coming year, why we think that expressive photography is a good place for you to invest your time and efforts towards developing your own photography, and really to kind of talk about what the concepts of expressive photography are. Where we live here, we're surrounded by these very beautiful mountains and forests and lochs and rivers and so forth, and we're very, very fortunate to live here. But as I look around me, I can see little bits of the landscape that speak to me more so than the big picture. I'm noticing some birch trees over there that are just catching the light there. They're just side light, and the hillside behind them is totally in shadow. Over there behind the camera, there's a couple of bleached trees that you will be familiar with from one of my photographs that I posted at the end of last year. And the thing that strikes me immediately is understanding that that feels different from that. And the main component that's different is the luminosity. This is in sunlight, that isn't in sunlight. And they feel differently. When we don't have direct light, we still have luminosity because we've got some things are brighter and whiter than others, and that is contrast. Behind me, of course, we've got the glorious Scottish mountains, resplendent in snow, and of course they are majestic and very, very beautiful. But for me, expressive photography is less about the landscape as a whole and more about the component parts of that landscape that somehow represent our inner emotional relationships with the landscape and with ourselves. And expressive photography is the tool, it's the catalyst, it's the thing that allows us to explore, to delve deep into ourselves, and ultimately to produce work that's unique and personal. And it's not about popularity, it's about growth and personal growth and our own development and how we can move forward to try and make sense of this difficult world right now and to say things that are profound that need to be said.
Now, of course, expressive photography just doesn't end when we leave the field. When we're in the countryside, this engagement, this time that we spend engaging with the world, being excited and intrigued by various things that we see, and understanding the emotional consequence of those experiences is a hugely important thing. And I actually believe that the time we spend in the field as an experiential thing, as a part of our life, is incredibly valuable because it's that time in the field where we're out of the house, we're free, we've got the sky above us, and I think it's a very important part of life is to be out in the countryside. Now, when we get in front of the computer, it's a chance to re-engage with those emotional insights that we had when we were actually in the countryside. And the images that we bring back, either on our memory card or on a piece of film or what have you, are little diary notes of those moments of engagement. They're little snapshots, I guess. I mean, it's to use that old expression. Snapshots of a moment, you could say. And whether that's the majestic landscape or a little bit of the landscape, there is a consequence to observing it. And when we're in front of the computer here, then this is just a couple of the shots I took from that spot that we were just talking from there. So the way these birch trees are highlighted against the shadowy hillside behind, there's a feeling, there's an emotional resonance or an emotional reaction that we have to the various parts of this frame. This is a shot of two halves. The back is very dark, moody, cluttered. There's old tangled trees in there and stuff like that. Very shadowy, very mysterious and maybe a bit sinister. The foreground, bright, airy, open, much more rational with vertical birches and this open expanse of grassland in the foreground. And what processing allows us to do is change or enhance those emotional reactions. So if I darken the image, the whole thing gets a bit moodier. So we need to change it a little. We can brighten, we can warm the color space and fix the tint. And then if I just open my whites again, that's going to re-inject luminosity into the foreground. And we've got a darker, moodier background, a brighter, warmer foreground. And what that's doing is it's changing or enhancing the articulation of our emotional reaction to those various bits of the frame. And that's all dodging and burning is changing the relationship between the shadows and the highlights. If I change the temperature of this image, so if I drop it down somewhat, make it a bit cooler, the feeling changes again. And this is what processing is all about. It's understanding that every time we move a slider, there's an emotional consequence to that action. And this is what expressive photography is. If we skip on to the next frame here, this is more of a distillation of that scene. We've got rid of the bright sunny foreground, and by doing so we're eliminating a very, very strong distraction or a very strong speaker. If you think about luminosity as a volume control, that foreground before was very bright, very open, very warm, and therefore it's very dominant. What we have in this distilled version of the frame is a much more yin and yang type of situation. The background is still moody and mysterious. The foreground, with its rational vertical birch and the slightly warmer tones, is a much more accessible thing. So again, if I make any changes to this file by cooling it or warming it, there's an emotional consequence to every single time I move a slider. Every slider in Lightroom has an emotional consequence, and this is what expressive photography is. There's a feeling associated with the dynamics and the color and the contrast and the luminosity and the geometry and the atmosphere. All of these things are synonyms for expressive photography. Now, this is a scene that will be familiar to some of you from the back end of last year. This tree on the right hand side became part of one of my favorite images of last year. Now, what I've done here, this is actually really underexposed. So if I just open it all up and add some whites back in there to create a bit more contrast. I'll just use the contrast slider, in fact, to give it a bit of punch. There we go. What should be immediately obvious from this photograph is that now I took it this way to specifically illustrate this point, which is the left-hand side has far less order to it than the right-hand side. And this is what composition is. Composition is our way to order and to rationalize the world, or to arrange the content in such a way as it shows what we want to show. I remember even 15 years ago when I was writing articles, I used to use the words composition is lying by omission. We're not showing certain things to basically articulate what it is we do want to show. It's like showing the beauty without the ugliness is lying by omission. The left-hand side is much more chaotic. It has the same constituent parts, bleached trees and birch, but we also have a frosty hillside and just a bit more clutter. The way things are organized doesn't have any kind of symmetry to it. Now, the area on the right-hand side is a great distillation of those elements, bleached trees and birches. And if I was to come in and further crop this into a 1:1 and just tighten that in a wee section there, that shows everything we want to show without showing the stuff that we don't need to show. This now cuts everything to the core. Beautiful purple young birch and those bleached old oak trees, I think they are. And this is what expressive photography is. We've gone out into the landscape, we've had emotional experiences, we've engaged with the world, we've felt emotional responses to the things we see: joy, happiness, melancholy, sadness, thoughtfulness, reflectiveness, all of this nostalgia, all of these emotions that we can experience in the landscape. And when we come back, we distill it all into some pixels, whether they're squares or 4x5s or 16x9s or 3x2s or 3:1s. It doesn't matter what aspect ratio, but there's always an emotional consequence to every single action we take. And this is what we'll be exploring on this channel.
So obviously, with the world still in the grip of this fairly dreadful pandemic, it's with a little bit of optimism that we're trying to plan towards the autumn of 2021 to start running workshops again. We've got something in the diary with Alex Noriega and Adam Gibbs. And we also have other photographers coming on board to start running expressive photography workshops in the Arctic and here in Scotland. And that's a way for us to extend the message to different areas with different photographers, because expressive photography means different things to different people. And that's really what this channel is all about now. And it's what Expressive Photography, the company, is all about, is promoting individuality and this beautiful relationship that we can have with the world. Now, in the short term, we're very much committed to this online model, the YouTube video, the YouTube channel, the weekly videos, the membership channel, and of course I'm continually continuing to work on new products. The new video series that to accompany the Colour of Meaning ebook will be the next thing that comes along, hopefully in February, by the end of February, and then I have some other ebook ideas really focused on the concepts of expressive photography. We've looked at luminosity and contrast, we've looked at the colour of meaning, and I want to start looking towards things like atmosphere and abstraction and some of those really exciting concepts where we can find ourselves in the wonderful diversity of nature that is around us.
So hopefully that gives you a little insight as to where Expressive Photography, a company, is going in 2021, and also the concepts of expressive photography and what it is that we're wanting to promote. It's a difficult world right now. It's difficult times for everyone all over the world. And I think landscape photography is a very important part of our mental health, sustaining us, and obviously the environment, and how important it is for us to care and nurture our local areas. And I think this is the perfect opportunity for us to get out with our cameras and really start noticing the beauty that's on our doorstep. Now, I mentioned very briefly there the membership channel. So if you see below this video, there's a join button, or on the main Expressive Photography homepage, there's a join button. If you don't see that, it means you're probably on a mobile device. You need to be on a browser to see that button. If you click on that, you have an opportunity to make a monthly contribution. There are two tiers. The cheaper one, or the lower one, is the tip jar, and it's really just a little gratuity and a thank you for the content that we're producing every week for free on the main YouTube channel. Now, for people who subscribe to the Expressive Photographers tier, which is the higher amount of the two per month, you're now having access to all the videos that we've made members only. There's already dozens and dozens and dozens of hours of video that you can access, and plus we're producing a new one every week. Now, in terms of where we're going with the membership channel, we are introducing videos that are going to start talking more about creative living. I did develop a concept last year called the Zen Haggis, which was about some of the major personality struggles that we have, because creativity is totally linked in to the concept of personal development. When we're happier and calmer and feeling better about ourselves, creativity is a byproduct of that. So I want to start looking at photography and creative living as a very, very important part of our emotional and physical well-being. So if you want to subscribe and start seeing those videos, the click below button is the join down there. So thank you very much for that. As always, you're supporting our work by buying our ebooks like The Colour of Meaning or Luminosity and Contrast. The black and white processing videos I still believe are an incredibly important foundation course and not just applicable for black and white photography. And of course, I look forward to bringing the new products in later, well, fairly soon. We'll be starting with that. Thank you very much for watching. Come on Wednesday, I'm going to be back on the Vision and Light desk talking with my good friend Adam Gibbs. That's going to be at least 2 parts. We had a really long conversation about the state of contemporary photography, the whole idea of compositing and digital art versus what we consider to be expressive photography, or things that are more single frame orientated. So hopefully you can enjoy that good old rant that Adam and I had. It was super to catch up. Thanks for watching. Please hit the thumbs up button. That helps the channel immensely in terms of the YouTube algorithm, whatever that's all about. And I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, and then next Sunday we're digging into an amazingly frozen river that we have just around the corner from our house. And I made some images that I absolutely love. So I've started off 2021 with some very expressive ice images that I'm absolutely passionate about. So that'll be next Sunday. Thanks very much for watching. Have a great week, everyone. And once again, from Kristin and myself, a very, very happy new year.